everyone. Thanks for joining us. What we're going to do is I'm just going to into all kind of stuff. And so tonight's session is the youth to adult transition, which is based around what advice both George and Dan can give you for transitioning from youth football up to the adult game. Both George and Dan have already done this, so they're perfect people and a lot more smarter than I am in this process. So what I'll do is I'll fire over to George and let him introduce himself, and Dan, if you don't mind introducing yourself as well, just so everyone knows who we're talking to. George?
Good evening, everyone. Hope we're okay. I'm George. I'm a level 4 referee. I qualified in 2015. So 5 seasons now I've been refereeing. I started off from the Mid-Wilts Youth League, and then when I turned 16, progressed into the Chippenham District, the Trowbridge District League. And then obviously went for my promotion. I went down 75 to start with. After that long season, got to the Wiltshire Premier League. And I'm currently at my first season on the Western League as a level 4. Dan?
Yeah, so I'm level 4A or 4B, sorry. So I've been refereeing 8 seasons, qualified in 2012. I started in North Wilts. Yeah, as you can see, done most of my adults soon after, so Chippenham District and Trowbridge District. Then spent a season on the Wiltshire, 2 seasons on the Western, and now I've gone for just the line, so I've taken the line route, and I've been doing that since the season start. So, yeah.
Perfect. So at least you both know who we're talking to tonight. So for anyone who has any questions while George and Dan are going through some advice for you guys, just jump in. The session's being recorded and it's going to go out in the monthly updates for hopefully we hit the right category referee who we're trying to aim for. Basically, okay. But if you've got any questions, just unmute yourself and just butt in and fire away. Okay, we don't mind. I'll get into some questions for George and Dan. So George, firstly, what made you become a referee?
Always had a passion for always loved football, which wasn't very good at it. I was a bit of a chubby kid as well, so I was playing for Cal. I think I was about under 14s. I think Dan refereed me a few times when I was that age. And I was having fun with my mates, just playing football really. And then our team folded. I didn't really want to go play with a little kid I don't know. I wanted to still play with my mates. Obviously couldn't do that, so I thought I'd take up refereeing. And I just went from there really and really enjoyed it. And yeah, here we are. What about you, Dan? What made you take up?
Yeah, mine was pretty similar. I had a team, really enjoyed football. We sort of disbanded after, was it 17, 18 football. We still wanted to get on with the game. I still met quite a few people out and about with football. So I was like, why not keep that going? So yeah, went into refereeing and haven't looked back really. I think looking on to the next question, sort of about being nervous into football. I was really nervous. The step from sort of going from sort of probably the under 13s to 14s, even going up into 17s, 18s at the time, it was really nerve-wracking. I'm not a person who would kind of chuck myself in, but sort of dive in the deep end. So going into it really wasn't kind of a thing that I thought I would do. But after having a couple of conversations with, especially some people within the Chippenham District, I thought I'd give it a shot. So yeah, I kind of did my first game, and that was that. What about you, George? Are you nervous?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a big step up from obviously the youth game, where it's a bit more say friendly. I'd say it is. Obviously, the parents can get on your back at youth games, and there's still definitely a lot to manage. But when you're going from under 14s, and obviously you build your work from under 18s, and then it's 17-year-olds, and then it can be a 35-year-old bloke you're refereeing on a Sunday morning. Yeah, it's definitely tricky, and it definitely makes me nervous. But it's all good nerves. I feel it's a different challenge. It's definitely more challenging, but But yeah, I definitely know that one.
So yeah, what was your first game?
My first adult game was over at Sutton Benja. I can't remember who the away team was. Stephen Brenchley was there. I don't know if he's in the cup. No, he's not. A few of you will know Stephen. Just helped me through it. I think it went pretty well. Nothing too serious. The game doesn't really stick out for me, but I remember sort of before the game being a lot nervous. Funny thing was that when I got handed the team sheet, I generally didn't know. I knew it was a team sheet, but I didn't know what I had to do with it. And the reason I had it, is obviously in Mid Wales, I don't know what it's like in North Wales, we didn't have team sheets. So when I got the team sheet through, I was a bit like, oh, Steve, what do I do with this? And he's like, you send this away to the league and this and that. That was just a shock that I had. Obviously getting the team sheet for the game. Just little things like that. Or hopefully tonight people can hear and be like, oh, that's what a team sheet is for. Even though it might sound pretty obvious at the time, I didn't have a clue. What about you, Dan? Do you have your first adult game?
Funny enough, I don't remember sort of any specifics about the game,
No.
who they are or whatever. But what I do remember was I was didn't have anyone, so I went out there kind of sort of on my own, and I had a bit of a similar situation. I didn't really know what was different, so I just kind of went out there and just did my normal stuff. I found it all right. I got on all right. But yeah, it was. I felt it was good. So afterwards, it was definitely a relief after I'd done it. I sort of was more sort of nervous and apprehensive beforehand, and after I did it, I definitely remember feeling coming off like, what was I worried about? So there was not like all that hype inside for nothing. Yeah, once I got into it, I felt perfectly fine.
I know what you mean. That beauty of hearing your whistle when all the nerves have got your ass. That's good for you.
Sorry, Dan, George, before you go on to the next one, what made you go into the adult football from youth?
Go on, Dan, you go.
Yeah, so for me, it was just kind of, I felt that youth football was a bit repetitive. I wanted to kind of mix it up. And I wanted to challenge. I knew I wanted to challenge myself, but I didn't quite know, which way to go. So kind of the adult game for me was like the step. Like I said before, someone suggested it to me and kind of planted the seed in my head, so I went for it. Yeah. What about you, George?
Yes, similar thing really. I just doing a lot of youth football, and obviously there's only so much football you can do. Obviously there are different steps. So under 11's game, it's obviously going to be different to under 18's game. But once you've sort of gone through all the sort of age groups up till you get under 18s, obviously the next step is adult football and obviously men's football, which obviously feels like a massive challenge and a massive leap, and which, to be honest, it is, because you go from obviously managing children pretty much to adults. But yeah, no, it was just the next challenge, I guess. Like you say, Dan, yeah, the next hurdle.
Perfect. How long were you both in youth football for before you made the transition? You remember? Sorry, these aren't on the PowerPoint, so I'm kind of jumping.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think about 3 seasons I was. Yeah, it's 14, and then I started when I was at 16. Yeah, 2 years, 2 seasons. How long were you, Dan?
Yeah, I think it's like 2.5, because I qualified in January. So my first season was half. So I think it was probably around 2.5 seasons. It felt rapid. I gotta be honest, it felt rapid.
Yeah, definitely.
That's when George, you said, did Dan referee you when you were a player?
Yeah, a couple of times.
What was it like? Dan, was that your last game in youth football, and that's why you made the transition?
Dan was one of the good ones.
That's good. I'll lead you back onto the question. So, advice for referees currently in youth football.
I think my advice would be, if you're thinking about kind of what your next step is. It sounds really obvious, I know, but just take the leap. Give yourself a challenge because once you've done it, it's a massive relief. Because adult football, I know when sort of I was younger, it seemed like this big sort of just overarching thing, like you're, you know, 16, 17-year-olds, and then you're going to be managing people up to 50 years old, like, you know, 35, they're going to be really bullish. But once you take that leap, they'll respect you. Most people will respect you just as much as they would, again, someone of their similar age taking the game. So I think my overarching advice would be just take the jump. If you're thinking, I don't know, do I, don't I? I would say go for it. There's plenty of support around that to help you out. And we'll cover some of that, I'm sure, later on. George?
Yeah, definitely. I think you summed it up perfectly there. Like, it's you might be thinking the reason I don't want to do adult football is I might struggle with respect being a bit younger, and that's obviously, it's just human nature to test it for the players because they want to get the decisions in their favour, so they will test you because they see you and they can see you're obviously younger than the average referee. But at the same time, if you get the first couple of decisions right and they see that you should be fitter than obviously the older boys in the league, they'll respect that as well. You'll find they really like it because you're in the right position all the time. Once you get that out of the way, they respect you just like a normal referee. Once you show them that it's all good and they trust you, I would say, yeah, definitely do it. That's the main sort of the main hurdle. But yeah.
Sorry, both. Did you both just make the step, or did you have someone to talk to before the game, like another senior referee? And if so, is that something you two would advise, or?
At the time, no. Sort of, I wasn't massively into places like the RA, the Referees Association, or anything like that. I didn't really know any other referees at the time. So yeah, I just kind of, it happened to be that we had someone who ran the team in this Cheltenham district, and kind of said, you know, here's the number, bring the referee appointment, and, you know, see if you can get a game. So yeah, I just kind of made the jump. And then for me, the support came like after I'd made my first game. So after my first game, then sort of I had a couple of people ring me, kind of say, how was it, whatever. And then kind of I started to kind of feed into that support network. Probably would have been better in hindsight beforehand, but you know, that's learning.
Yeah, I think I was quite lucky with mine. I think, yeah, it's one of the referees who was a little bit older than me. Just messaged me and said, I've seen your game, I'll come up to watch this one. That was just a massive help, just to like, it's a confidence booster, I guess, and just someone to, I'd say the most important thing is they're talking you before the game. They're not talking you through the game, but they're there. So like I said, team teach, for example, I go, what's this? Boom. They know what it is. So anything you're unsure of, it's sort of a little bit of advice to go to. Obviously, once you go to the whistle, you're on your own, you. But yeah, just having that person before the game, it's obviously been there, done that, and knows the process, knows the league, knows the players. Yeah, it's a massive help. And obviously, like you guys and obviously trying to get like support in, so when that transaction does happen, there is people there to obviously support the young referees coming through. It's vital.
Yeah, definitely. I think we'd agree if you're a young referee going into your first game out of football, it is probably best to contact us. If you're an exceptional referee like Dan, you get through it in your first game without contacting someone. But I think we would all advise probably that little bit of support might be beneficial for your first game because you never know what's going to happen in it. Is that fair to say, both of you?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you don't always have to go looking for it, but if you ask, you definitely will get a referee. And if you ask for help, there'll be loads of people more senior who will be willing to help. That's a mistake I made, I think. Obviously, I did have help, but I could have had more, I think, more often. I didn't realise how available it was. Just literally drop in an email, and then someone will come look after you.
Nice one. And so, what are the differences when through adult football compared to the youth game, if you can remember them?
I need to get that one.
Yeah. I think for me the biggest differences were about your perception. The adults will take a lot more on your perception than youth players will. So for me, it was kind of, I think it was a massive learning curve in respect to how I presented myself, especially when I walked out onto the pitch. So having that presence was the biggest step, I think, kind of because doing your youth football, it's giving you everything from sort of that, especially when you're in the 17, 18 spans. It's got you some of that player management, but and you know the decisions, you know how to make your decisions. So it's the little things like perception. So with youth people, you're kind of just walking out onto the pitch. They know the drill. With adults, they need a little bit more coaching. You need to kind of be a bit stronger. And I think that was the massive learning curve for me. Do you have anything similar, George?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Well, the biggest difference, obviously, is the physical aspect of it. They're obviously like fully grown now. They're men. Obviously, they're a lot heavier, a lot stronger, a lot taller. Obviously, that changes the style of football you're seeing. Sometimes it's not going to be great. It's going to be pretty, but there will be like your big man up front in debates like that, which you might have seen a bit in youth football, but it's completely different. I actually think it's completely different when you get to the adult game, how physical they are, they'll use their bodies more, and especially as they come to sort of the end of their like playing times, they'll use their physique more because they're not fast and they're not as quick as they used to be and stuff like that. I don't know if you agree with that, Dan, but I think that's another one of the biggest changes, differences.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. So the physical aspect of the game definitely plays into kind of one of the main differences. You're always going to find it, and I think sort of the presence aspect and being able to sort of prepare yourself for having someone be more physical is really important.
Definitely.
How do you guys have to manage the adult game a bit differently? Is it with just maybe a bit of better positioning, a bit more fitness, cards? What is it that helps you get through it more than the youth game?
Talking to players, I'd say, is the main thing. The adults want you to talk to them more, whereas the youth players will probably want to get on with it and just play, and they don't really want to know you're there. Whereas sort of once people become obviously adults, their character's there, their personality's there a bit more, if that makes sense. They want to talk to you, they want to know what they can get from you. At the same time, if you're giving it back to them, you're talking to them back and you're chatting with them and you're saying this is why. If you're quick and you're blunt with it, but you're respectful to them, it seems to work really well. Because they'll say things like, "Oh, yeah, thank you for sort of talking to us today." Sometimes maybe some referees won't do that, and maybe referees in the past wouldn't coach the sort of communicating talk with players. Obviously, there's a time and a place. You can't be having a full-on conversation with for the whole game, but just a little chat and just say, "I've seen that," and stuff like that. Helps out massively. I'd say that's probably the main management skill that changes. What about you, Dan? What do you think on that?
Yeah, I think sort of communication kind of is the overarching thing, and there's many aspects between that. You've touched on it already. You've sort of speaking to players. That's a massive bonus because youth players they won't necessarily want anything from you. They're just born to be that's your decision, job done. Whereas adult players they will challenge you, and if you don't give them an answer, that can sometimes rile them even more. So just sometimes giving a short, sharp answer just telling them why you've made a decision can help you out massively. But like George said, there's a time and a place. I think similarly, knowing when to use your cards is a massive help. I think it comes later on, but it's kind of still vital. Knowing when to use them, how to use them as well, is a big thing.
Yeah, definitely. That takes like practice getting used to it, doesn't it? Knowing when to caution the player, knowing sort of does a game expect it, does a game need it or warrant it, and things like this. Like it's sort of phrases that obviously get thrown around, but I think you just sort of once you keep on practicing, you see referees and you're refereeing yourself, like you can pick up on it and you soon know what's going to work and what hasn't worked, either because you've done it yourself and it's worked well, or maybe it hasn't worked so well, or you've seen another referee do it and you thought, yeah, that was good, that wasn't good. You soon pick it up the more games you do.
No, perfect. We touched on the senior referees. Actually, we'll go back on. So when, George, I think you mentioned you had a senior referee help you after your first game, and so who were they, if they're still a referee and stuff, or who, and what did they do? What did they tell you that helped, really?
Yeah, so I had Stephen Brenchley out. I think he must have just seen I had a game or must have speaking to him or something. But he's only like 3 years older than me. Obviously, that's 3 years more experience in refereeing, or obviously in life in general. So, yeah, he knows the league well. It was just maybe a confidence booster. You know what I mean? Just having that sort of senior person there, just to sort of, like I said, help you out with the mundane thing, really, and just I think it massively helped me. Like feeling of just being there, and obviously Dan did it, so he can obviously speak on this, but like being there on your own must just be horrible. So I think like having people like Stephen, obviously like anyone will help. Yeah, like we said, it's so important.
Yeah, I think trying to think of it, I had kind of quite a few people help me. Kind of after I'd kind of shown myself that I can do it, I had quite a few people help me out. George, you're on the call. Thank you. You're one of the main people that helped me out. There are other people. So when you're out on the line, you'll hear people and you'll speak with people. They're a massive help. Sort of being able to speak with people, being able to watch them as well whilst you're on the line. That's a great help. And sort of, yeah, sort of, I used to do it now and again, where if I'm on the line on a Saturday, and I know the guys locals where I'm going to be on the Saturday morning, on the Sunday morning, just ask him, see if he's available. He might be, he might not be, but if you don't ask, you don't know, right? So that's how I sometimes did mine, where I'd ask the people that I was lining for, sort of if they had anything, and they'd come and help me. So yeah, and getting knowledge from those guys, it's really helpful. They'll tell you things that you don't know about yourself.
I suppose they don't always have to be at the game, do they, watching you? I suppose having just that contact like yourself down at the RA. If a young referee has a question, of maybe they've got themselves in a sticky situation somehow and they just want to ask a question of what they could have done to avoid it. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Even a phone call is a massive help, because you may have sort of that nagging feeling in the back of your head, like I don't know if I've done that right. Is it right? Just talking that over with someone is an absolutely massive help, especially when you're sort of new to refereeing or new to adult football. Yeah, just kind of getting on the phone to someone, speaking your decisions through, that can be a massive help. Because like as you're speaking to someone, sometimes you can pick up or you can see things differently than if you were asking yourself the same question. So yes, the speaking it out loud, that can help massively.
Yeah, definitely. Once you spoke to someone about it, like if you think about a bad game or something, and you speak to someone, it feels like the weight of the world lifts on your shoulders, doesn't it? Because you speak to someone, what you mean? Yeah, definitely.
Nice one. So I'm not sure how old you both were when you took the step into adult football, but the next question, so how do you manage open age games to adult football when you're still a child?
Yeah, so I was 16. I just turned 16, so like the youngest you can be.
Is it easier now, before you get into it? Is it easier now you're a little bit more older? Just a 16-year-old knows what to look out for, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. It's yeah, obviously you look back at some of the things you've done and think, why have I done that? And you've had to, it's obviously all part of like just learning, isn't it? Yeah, it's one of them because obviously once you move up to other football, it does get better and maybe trickier to referee. But Sunday mornings, they're not easy to referee. Like, I'm sure because the players have gone out the night before. Maybe it's their sort of relief. They'll shout at a referee because they get shouted at work, they get shouted at by the wife when they get home. So them shouting at you is them just letting everything out sometimes maybe. So managing it as a 16-year-old can be tricky, but you just got to be confident for yourself, even when you're maybe not feeling as confident. If you sort of puff your chest out and you're particularly confident, it sort of goes around all the players and they're like, oh, he's sort of confident. You might get called things for it, but they'll soon buy into it and they'll seriously actually he's okay. He's not gonna screw us over today.
Yeah, I would agree. Just kind of having that ability, just to kind of sometimes even when sort of you may think that you're wrong, just kind of being strong with it. Adults will see that. So sometimes it doesn't work. Sort of we've been there when it doesn't. But 9 times out of 10, it'll work. And when they see you're confident, they'll be confident in you. So just having that kind of confidence to say, no, that is a corner. I've seen a flick. When they're questioning you, like I think that's massive.
Perfect. So if you're now refereeing the adult football and everything like that, is there more expected from you in there? Do you have to do more than what you would have to do when you were refereeing youth football?
I think the expectation is obviously still there for you to protect the players and make sure they're safe. Obviously, injuries do happen, but make sure obviously that's your first thing in it, to protect the players. And I think that expectation is still there. No, I think the overall job, I personally say, it's still the same. It's still the same thing that's expected of you. Just some of the things you do will be a little bit different when you deal with adults. You deal with children. I mean, it's just I guess like that in anything in it, any walk of life. But as you obviously move up and progress up the leagues, more is expected of you. And obviously, like we talked about the end of that promotion and that, each step people want more from you, which is rightly so. The FA want more from you, and obviously you should expect more from yourself. So the first transition, I personally don't think there's more expected, but I don't know, Dan, what's your sort of take on that? Do you think there's more sort of expected?
I think adults they want more from you, but I think it's different in respect that that they just want to see that sort of you're there for a reason. You're not there just to run around, to blow a whistle for 90 minutes. I think they want to see some kind of sounds a bit bizarre, but I think that they want to see that you're interested in your refereeing, and how you kind of perceive yourself, because often I think if you look like you don't believe in yourself or something, they'll pick up on that. So I think that it's required that sort of you be more confident in the game in adults, but how you do that is sort of a multitude of things.
Perfect. And obviously in adult football, you're more likely to have some sort of discipline, reds, yellows, than you are in youth football, as they're trying to teach them and educate them a little bit more. What differences are there in that, in terms of discipline? Is there any easy ones you can show us regarding ticking it in your book, team sheets, or anything you can just explain for us, George?
Yeah, so obviously the tackles are getting bigger because obviously the players are getting bigger. So I think be fair, that is more expected of you to caution the ball. Does that make sense? Sometimes in youth football, maybe you can manage it, but there comes a time when that players will start getting agitated, and they'll be like, "Look, we've got to go to work tomorrow." Which you always hear that shout, but it is a fair point. So obviously you've got to protect them. So you will put in the cautions. One thing I will say on sort of when you do obviously caution or send someone off, I made a mistake. I think I was getting observed at the time, but it was a Sunday league game. I used to take players' numbers, and obviously they give you the team sheet beforehand, which is meant to be matching up. So that's like 9 times out of 10, the numbers will be wrong on the team sheet. So when a player does come over to you, just make sure take his number as well, but take his name, so you know you've got the right person. Then instead of having to go through a team sheet, putting it on full time, it being wrong, and it just being a massive fit. It just saves so much hassle. You just do that first and pick their surname. I don't know what you did, Dan, but I didn't do it for a while, and then when the servers picked up on it, well, he just sort of said, "Look, this is what I would do," and it helped massively.
Yeah, so I think for me, so with adult football, obviously we have team sheets. It cut me across a couple of times where you can't rely on them. So I think that the main thing is you still do your names because the team sheet may help you in from your organisation in terms of knowing probably where people are going to be. But I think the main thing is to still take your names when you're cautioning or something, or even when you're sort of doing some discipline to someone in the bench, because the team sheet isn't always going to be right.
Perfect. And then obviously in youth football they're rolling subs normally. So in adult football, I'm guessing most of these now have they're obviously free subs. So how do you guys manage that?
Yeah, I think it's even I think it's 5 on the Chippenham District League, and is it 5 subs still?
I don't know.
Sorry, I'm pretty sure they were allowed 5. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 5 subs. I'm not 100% on that, but yeah. So what I personally say the best thing to do is speak to the coach or the captain beforehand and just say, look, subs, obviously I've got to keep count of it because I've got no one here to help me. So what I need is when your player's jogging off, can't come on until we sort of until players, subs off players coming off the pitch, and just obviously go over, take their number. I personally don't take the name. Obviously it might be wrong, but it's a sub. You're gonna know who's on and off. I'll just take the number as I got the substitution. And obviously just say to the player like wait there if you can. They can be difficult to manage as well because obviously once you get neutrals to right, your senior can deal with it. When you're on your own and then you're thinking the ball's from I can rest and then they're screaming at you for a sub, you'll see go over there, be switched on, and 9 times out of 10 what will happen is the player will jog off and then the substitute player that's coming on will meet him halfway on the pitch, and it's like it doesn't look great, but I'll definitely say speaking to the managers beforehand and saying, look, if you can help me out by doing this or this is what I want today, obviously be polite, be respectful and talk to them about it, and obviously don't be like a dictator going in there. 9 times out of 10 it'll work, even if it's just a little bit. It's an extra thing you don't have to worry about. What would any advice on that and managing subs?
Managing subs. Yeah, I think for me, it would just be kind of take your time. On the whole,
that's a good point. Yeah,
you're the guy in charge at the end of the day, and you're the one who's got to manage the players. So if they want to do things really quickly, then it's your time to kind of slow that down and make sure that you're settled. Because at the end of the day, I don't think if you're unsettled, the players are going to know it's going to affect your game. So I think to make sure that you do it kind of on your own time. Make sure that you're happy with your decision or with your timekeeping. I think the point you make about going and speaking to the managers, I think that can help. Yeah, I don't look every time, but it certainly helps in the large amount of scenarios. Having them on your side sort of before the game helps you quite massively.
Perfect. And then is the intensity different? So, and if so, how do you get around that? How do you manage that as you grow up, get older and stuff?
Yeah, the intensity is obviously, like we spoke about, obviously, where the physical side comes into it, and it seems to mean more at adult football. They want to win more than the youth games, I think, because obviously where the coaches at youth level are sort of developing players, and yeah, they do want to win, don't get me wrong, but the main thing is developing players. When it's Sunday League football, they don't care about developing. They know that they're either that's their level now, or they're coming down, and they're not going to have to go back up or whatever. So all they care about really is playing with their mates and winning. That's the main thing. When we talk about like sort of managing it, captains are a massive help normally. One thing I didn't do when I started refereeing adult football, I didn't use the captains enough. Because obviously you get the chance to speak to them when you flip the coin. If you have a good you'd have a team talk, whatever it is, just talk with them and say, look, this is what I expect today. If you help me out, it's going to be a lot better for you because your boys probably won't get in a sim bin if you're there first. Just little things like that. They go, all right, yeah. Just talk to the captains during the game, they'll help you. And if the captain isn't just shouting at you, you know he's not going to help you. There'll be someone on the pitch who's more senior or maybe got a bit more authority on the team, which will you can get him on side and he'll just be the captain. Sometimes that's down band on. But yeah, to manage that sort of intensity situation, I'd say get the captains and get them on side or get someone on side. Obviously, they're not going to be your mate. They're not your mates. They'll get lured into that sort of false sense of, oh yeah, they're fine. They will throw you under the bus when they can. 9 times out of 10, they will help you. What do you think on that, Sam? Did you wish to use the captains earlier? Or?
Yeah, I think getting a good rapport, sort of picking out your main man. Sometimes that's the captain, sometimes it isn't, like you say. But getting a good rapport with someone on the pitch is kind of key, and I think managing the intensity of a game, because especially when you know sort of things are tight against the team, so if things aren't quite going their way, having that ability to turn around to either the captain or the guy that you've identified, and just being able to kind of build a rapport, so they're more likely going to go, oh, that's all right, Raf, no worries about that. So rather than not knowing anything and then see you as a berating sort of thing for 90 minutes. So yeah, intensity is a great thing where you can use sort of players on the pitch. You can also sometimes use sort of the time on the pitch or when the ball's out of play to manage the intensity. So, for example, if you're taking a goal kick or something, and you know the intensity's high, then sort of, if the goalkeeper's taking his time, then go speak to one of your players then. Just go sort of say a couple of words to him, try and get him on side, do things that way. You don't have to sort of go with them all the time. Again, slow subs down, that can be a great one. There are kind of managing the intensity. It isn't all about communication. It's also with how sometimes you can affect the game in other ways, whether that be with your time management or something else. The intensity of your whistle, that can help calm things down. So there are quite a few things that can get in there, but for me, the main two things is managing dead play and also communication with players. I think that sort of are the main two things I use to manage the intensity of an adult game.
Yeah, I think that's a great point actually about sort of slowing the game down when maybe there's like a defensive free kick or something, and you can just sort of go stand there for a bit. I know you're normally told to give it and run away, get off, but if you're just sort of sitting there, you're waiting around, the player's going to go. If you tell the player straight away, yeah, on the whistle, and just take your time, you think they're going to rush you, and that one of the players might go, "Oh, can we get on with it?" Be honest with him, just be like, "Nah, game's got a bit heated. Past 5 players, I'm just calming it down to take game management." And I would respect that, you're being honest. And then just obviously jog back, wait till it all comes down, speak to a player if you can on the way. And I think that's a great point about sort of slowing it down from sort of dead ball situations from the restart.
Perfect. So we've got one more question on the PowerPoint, and then I've got a couple in the chat. So if anyone else has any questions, just type them in the chat before we start closing up, okay? So last question on show for everyone is about promotion. So just talk us through promotion and how difficult or easy you found it and your journey with it, really.
And you set that one, you'll play first.
Yeah, I'll pick that one up. So promotion, I did things. So I did a level at a time. So I kind of took things pretty slowly. But in terms of is promotion difficult? I would say that kind of yes and no. In regards that promotion is difficult in regards to kind of you've got to know what's expected of you. Kind of you can't go in there blind. If you go in there blind, then kind of you're kind of setting yourself up for a bit of a disaster, really. So chatting with people beforehand, sort of just trying to understand what they want from you, I think is a massive help before you go on the pitch. It saves you from sort of getting that bad mark when you're on the pitch, and maybe you can do that before the game. So that's kind of, I think my main point is to kind of know what to go for beforehand. But actually doing the promotion, I probably wouldn't say it's that difficult. It's more about sort of the things leading up to your eventual promotion that is difficult. Sort of doing the promotion is you're just refereeing games, and you've just got to be calm under pressure. And obviously your paperwork needs to be sort of up to standard. And that's another aspect I think I haven't touched on, is that your promotion isn't always what's on the pitch. Your promotion can sometimes be kind of affected if your paperwork is poor. So if you're either not sending in cautions or you're sending in your reports to your league late, that can sometimes affect your promotion depending on your level. So yeah, I would say it's a step, but I wouldn't necessarily mark it as difficult. It's just a sort of a series of challenging scenarios, I think I would put it as.
Yeah, definitely. I think you put it best. It is obviously more challenging, but it's more on mental fans, obviously. More obviously once you move up, you get observed, so you'll get someone, a former referee who's gone through the observers courses, and they'll give you basically a mark out of it, which ultimately determines what you if you get promoted or not. But they can be challenging situations mentally, because you can think, someone's going to be watching me, someone's going to watch my every move. But I think of it the other way and sort of think, you're refereeing, say, and no one's out watching you. No one cares what you do. You get decisions right. Few players might go, cheers, ref, good game. If they don't talk about you, normally means you've had a good game. So no one really praise you that much. You get an observer out. He's going to be watching every move. If you have a good game, he's obviously going to be singing your praises. And if you don't have such a good game, you're going to get development points. So when you can't really lose with an observer. There's no, you might get a bad mark, you might feel bad about it, but you've learned something. Or if you have a good game, like you say, it's just to be someone praising you, really. So what might seem daunting when you know you've got someone coming out, but I wouldn't look at it that way. I would look at it as a positive and a way to learn.
Yeah, I was the same. I think whenever I had an observer out, I always took it as a chance of, I know what I've got in the bag. How can I improve on it? They're going to value sort of their ways of dealing with things. So sometimes it may not be the way that you think is right, or the way that is necessarily the correct way for you. But it definitely kind of, it can open up you to different ways of thinking. And it just generally helps you progress. They're there to help you at the end of the day. They're not there because they want to sit down with a book and mark you down. They're there because they want to help you out. They want to see you become a better referee. They eventually, observers want you to be where me and George are. Sort of they want to help you out. So just kind of listen to them is my kind of main thing.
Perfect. So we'll start closing up, but before I do, so it's a joint question for both of you. So if you're a referee trying to make the step, what advice would you to give as the first step? What should they do straight away?
I think to let someone know that you want to go for promotion. Sort of let the county know, because they can put you in touch with a lot of experienced referees that are local that can help you out. Sort of, yeah, because I know when I had it, to just going for that first step is tough, and doing it without anyone to speak to is daunting. So just getting in touch with your county, they can put you in touch with other referees, and then speak to them. It'll help you calm yourself, and it'll help you improve your game on the first time.
Yeah, definitely. Just getting them people around you. Obviously, they're more senior, more senior than you, sort of referees. Definitely, that was the best bit of advice I had when I was going from youth to adult football. Was just I was told, don't try to be something you're not. Just be yourself. Be your own character. Like, if you're miserable, be miserable. If you're happy, be happy. Don't try to be someone that you're not and just get caught out. Ultimately, if you're you, that's the best way to be. You're not going to get caught out like that. And it's how you enjoy it the most.
Perfect. So I think that's really insightful and really helpful to both of you. What we're going to do is I'll wait a second just in case there's any questions. If you have a question, anyone in the chat, just unmute yourself quickly and ask away. If not, we'll end the meeting here and then we'll send out any update. Doesn't look like there is any questions.
Shane, I know it's a bit late in the day, but I think also within adult football, I think sometimes you've got to be careful with what you say. With youth football, it's really easy to kind of just say stuff to players. For youth players, it may not mean much, but with adults, they know what they're hearing, and sometimes they can pick that apart. So, for example, if you say, if you do that again, I'll book you or something, then they're going to test you on that. Whereas if you just do it, and you say, if you say something else rather than the next time, then you're not leading yourself up to have to do something, because there may be a scenario where you don't necessarily want to do the thing you said you were going to do. So, for example, if someone's time wasting, and you say the next time you time waste, I'm going to book you. They may be doing their laces up the next time, and it may be perceived by the rest of everyone that that's time wasting, but to you it's not. So I think sometimes just be careful of what you say, because adults can pick that to pieces.
Perfect. No, I think that's really good. So what we'll do now is I'll say thanks to everyone for joining tonight. If you get any questions after the meeting, then just fire them across to me. Just some important dates for you guys coming up. So it's not official. Well, it's official, but it's not announced yet. But in the next 2 weeks, on the 27th, Wednesday, the 27th of January, we're going to be hosting a quiz, and there might be some prizes for first, second, and third. So look on that on social media, and if you want to join in details, then email myself. Sorry. Any questions, like I said, just email myself. February session is going to be a really good one, I think. It's on the 24th, and it's with two youth coaches, Matt England and Joe Foley. They're going to be talking around what they as coaches expect from the referee, so it's a really good one. As always, if you're interested in them, then email myself. And then the last one in the diary before I let you all go is in March. Just look at the date. It's the 25th of March. And it's an online session with Ben Williamson and Graham Pearce around pre and post-match preparations. So same again, if you're interested in then email me, and thanks everyone for their time, and Dan and George, if you just stay on and we'll say bye to everyone now, okay?
No worries. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Thank you.